Hey everybody, welcome to September 3rd's MakerDAO Community Call. For those of you that don't know, we do this call every week on Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so we've been doing this call for forever. And we've been pretty consistent, and I'm pretty happy about that. And so this call, we usually go through the week at Maker, what's been going on in our community, what's been going on in the governance of the DAO, what's been going on with like partnerships, integrations, interesting articles, pretty much everything. Everything that's notable, I try to cover in a nice little 30 to 45-minute snapshot for you guys. And every once in a while, we get to have some guests. And as many of you know, that we had a wonderful Berlin blockchain week just a couple weeks ago now. And at ETHBerlin, there was a hackathon, and it just so happened that a huge number of projects there were DeFi related. And a couple of them I have on the call today as guests. And we're going to do just some demos and some open Q&A for like the first half of the call. And then the second half of the call will be the regular kind of run through of the week. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Andy, who's actually on the Maker team. And he, Noah, and actually, I forgot your third, but Andy, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Hey, guys. This is my first time. I don't normally attend these calls because I have another meeting in half an hour. So my first time on the community call. Yeah, so myself and then two of my former coworkers who now work at different blockchain companies, we made something that we called RateLock. It's called RateSwap on that URL because we changed our mind halfway through.
Yeah, you guys goofed.
Yeah, but that's all right. And so basically the idea behind it is a fixed rate Dai loan through Compound Finance, where we create like a marketplace of people who would want to give someone access to a fixed rate loan to take on the volatile loan rate of Compound. And so we would imagine that in order people who are using this on mainnet, you would be offering a fixed rate that was slightly higher than the current fee on Compound. So you would be taking a premium and basically betting that the rate never got higher over the period of your loan.
So the underlying loan is using Compound rather than Maker, right?
Yes, currently. Yeah. And that was purely because we were crunched for time, and Compound is a little bit faster to take out a loan and close a loan with than the whole MCD system.
Nice. Do you want to maybe share this? Do you have like a front end that you could share?
Oh, I'm ready. I just figured I'd give a little intro and then I would pop over. Let's see.
I like it. Okay.
My screen.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of people in the community requesting like forward rate agreements and fixed term loans, and I think Dharma was trying to fill that niche, but it turned out that not a lot of people actually found their product very like user friendly.
Yeah.
But this is a different way to do it, right?
Kind of. So it is actually decently similar to what Dharma's doing for the end user who wants a stable loan. But the way that the back end of it is working is different because it's on Compound. But with Dharma's new announcement that they're going to be basically moving over their whole back end to Compound, it could actually be extremely similar to this. It's funny, since we presented this, there has been a lot of talk on Twitter about this exact thing. So I feel like we made it at the right time.
Cool. So what am I looking at?
All right. So yeah, so this is on Rinkeby, by the way. It's not on mainnet right now. This is kind of the homepage. There's two different tabs. There's a lending tab, which is this one, and a borrow, which is a beautiful user interface here. Wow. I'll start out with the lending tab though. So basically these rates here, these little are basically how much Dai you could borrow at any given fixed rate. So the current Compound rate is 12.4%. And so we basically created a peer-to-peer marketplace in a smart contract, which, so right now the best rate you could get would be 15 Dai for 17%. And so say I wanted to loan out 20 Dai at 16%, I could come in here and say, I want to lend 20 Dai at 16%. And hopefully this transaction will be fast because we're on.
So while the transaction does go, what one thing I noticed is missing is the term length.
Yeah. So currently term length is just not real because we didn't have time to fully implement it. It was created with, I think we had said that it would just be a hard locked 6 months to start, but you could theoretically have a variable term length as well, and that would adjust your rate. But that was too complex for the time we had. But basically, we would just need, for demo purposes at ETHBerlin, if we had a 6-month term, we couldn't close out our loans in any reasonable time. So we just didn't put it in. But it's just a line of code basically saying to not be able to close the loan for some period of time. So you can see that there's a new lowest rate here now, which is 16% for 20 Dai. And so then imagine I'm a new user. I don't have Ether Dai on another account, so I'm going to stay this user. And so now I wanted to borrow Dai. So if you look back here, we have 20 Dai here at 16%. So one thing that's important to consider is that this Dai is not actually how much Dai I can borrow, but it's the amount of Dai that will cover the stability fee, or whatever the fee is for compound. So up to 20 Dai worth of a variable fee is what this loan is covering. So if I wanted to borrow 20 Dai, it would tell me I could borrow 20 Dai at a rate of 16%, and then it would, if I press borrow, it would basically go through and open up a loan on compound. But I can go above 20 Dai and still get a 16% rate. So if I go up to like 30 Dai, 16%. Because basically, well, the way we did it was the 20 Dai that's backing the 16% loan. I think we allow you to do like up to 4. You can borrow like up to 4 times that, or some. I don't remember the exact number, but if I were to go way higher to like 200, it would increase. It'll increase the rate here to 17% because it's going to need to take both loans. The top of these loans that are here, it would have to take both of these loans, the Dai here, to cover the fees.
So in theory, like a more fleshed out front end would probably have like the entire, like the total amount that you could borrow at any given level, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So why did you guys decide on this design decision initially, or was it just because you guys were rushing through?
Yeah, so with this is more for a lender. So as a lender, it is kind of useful to know this information because this is how much Dai you have to give to a smart contract on initiation. So when if I actually go in and open up this transaction, you can see I sent 20 Dai to a smart contract. So that's what that is for. And also here, you don't, as a borrower, you basically, if you just ignore that lending page, you don't really care about any of that information, because the Dai that you're borrowing is from Compound, not from RateLock. So say basically I could put any amount and it'll give me a rate. If I put in way too much, it'll say you can't take out that much because we don't have enough in the system to cover your loan. But let's just say I want to borrow 30 Dai. Click borrow. And then once this transaction goes through, so we'll pull this up. You'll see there's like a lot of transactions that go on here when this actually goes through. Nothing like demoing Ethereum transactions. But what's happening in the back, it canceled. Why?
Because testnet.
Yeah.
By the way, anybody on the call, feel free to jump in and ask Andy questions.
I'm trying to borrow less and see what happens because it shouldn't have failed.
So when the lender deposits on RateLock, they're depositing to a proxy contract that then deposits to Compound, or how exactly does it work? Like on
So it's
level?
a 3 smart contract system. The main contract is the marketplace of basically available loans.
Mhm,
So it's kind of like a one-way marketplace
mhm,
of okay, there we go. That one worked. I don't know why. So now you can see I have an open loan at this contract. It's a very not helpful UI, but it's what we had time for. So what happened in the back end during this transaction is a ton of transfers.
oh, jeez.
So it starts out with one peer-to-peer contract where it's like a one-way marketplace where users can open up the desire to loan out Dai at a stable rate.
Mhm,
And then a borrower can come in and accept, basically they'll automatically accept the best offer. And it will group up offers until you have enough liquidity for what you need.
mhm,
And when those people are matched, it creates a new smart contract that will pool together all the lenders' funds and
mhm,
mint all those lenders in ERC20, like an appropriate portion of ERC20 tokens that is their ownership of that lending pool.
mhm,
And then it'll mint another smart contract that is the actual owner of the compound loan. Um, and that loan basically takes Ethereum from the borrower and it's routed through all those contracts to compound and loans and borrows Dai and sends it back to the borrower. Um, and so the Dai that is sitting in the smart contract from the lenders is used to pay off the stability fee at the end of, or pay off the borrowing fee to compound at the end of the loan. And
right.
so once the end user wants to close out their loan after their 6-month period, they would pay back whatever they owed, and then the smart contract would pay back the fee in the Dai that they had, and everyone would basically get their fair share of things. Um, so there's
What happens in the case that the compound rate is higher than somebody's borrow rate? Is it the lenders that lose out?
Yeah, so basically the lenders are taking a position against the compound rate,
Right.
saying that they don't think the average compound rate over the life cycle of the loan will ever be higher than the fixed rate that they gave.
Mhm, got it.
And so really what it's doing is it's offsetting the risk from the borrower to a middleman in between the lending protocol and the borrower. Um,
Right.
and so if you are risk tolerant and you want to try to get the best rate possible, you probably want to take out a loan straight through compound. But if you don't want to have to deal with that risk, this is the way to go about doing it.
Yeah. And so the lenders are actually, it's almost like similar to like the construction of an option where they take the premium and their upside is limited, but their downside is kind of I guess also limited
Yeah, well,
because the
so
compound rate can only go so high. But
we limited the downside to if the stability fee, I don't remember what the exact number is, but basically if the fee were to grow exponentially,
yeah.
um, it would eventually get to a point where the lenders could just close out the loan and everyone would get back what they had. And so the lenders there would still lose some money,
Right.
but that way they couldn't lose like 10 times what they lend. It gives them some safety in that sense.
Interesting. So how would that work? Because there's collateral required from the borrowers, they would just liquidate the collateral to get back the Dai loaned out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would liquidate. So the lenders wouldn't get back everything. The lender in that scenario would pay back the rest of the loan instead of the borrower,
Hmm.
and they would have to pay the fee, and then they would get back the part of the loan that they paid off from the borrower's collateral, and then the
Hmm.
borrower would get everything else. So the borrower wouldn't lose money,
Hmm.
um, but they would lose some of their collateral. But that's kind of like the one risk that a borrower would have to take. But we
So
kind
it's
of
analogous to like a MakerDAO liquidation, except without any built-in penalty at the moment, right?
yeah, there's no
Yeah.
penalty for
Yeah. Got it.
anyone.
Got it. Yeah.
So the last thing that you can do here is repay a loan, and
Hmm.
this was acting a little bit wonky before when I was trying it out. So hopefully it works.
So
But
while the transaction goes through, I have one more question.
yeah,
So these pools, like people are going to be lending into these pools, are the pools defined by time, like in the vision of like what this could be, right? It's not the same, right? If you like lend out your Dai for 3 months versus 6 months, like you're probably making a different bet on the premium you'd take and the interest that you'd be comfortable lending it out at, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the things, one of the design decisions we haven't made yet, which would basically
Yeah.
be, would there be a marketplace for each length of loan, or would there be one marketplace that had basically two variables for any given loan, and that was
Mhm.
that's the rate and the length. And odds are we would end up with basically a different marketplace for different lengths, and we would
Yeah.
probably just have like a 3 month, 6 month, 1 year, or something along those lines. Let's see. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
here I
makes
just
that makes
paid
sense.
back the loan, and so there's a lot of transactions again, and so you can see here when I paid back the loan, I transferred funds a few times through the contracts, and it ended up going to. So I pay back my Dai to Compound, uh, and I end up getting all my collateral back from what I started with, um, and then as a lender, if there were actually multiple people using this and all this stuff, I have an ERC20 token from this loan
Mhm.
that I can then redeem to get
Mhm.
back whatever the difference is in rates. But since the loan didn't actually go long enough, there's nothing to redeem really.
Right, right.
But at this point, assuming, so say this was a rate of 17, but the compound borrow rate's only 12.5% over the 6 months, you would accrue some extra Dai that
Right.
then the lenders could all redeem their tokens and take out that extra Dai and make a profit on their loan.
So, final question for you. What is the plan for this project moving forward?
So we all have full-time jobs at different cryptocurrency companies, so we don't have a ton of time to work on stuff. But I do think kind of what we want to try to do is expand it to also be with MakerDAO loans. I think that's like the easiest thing to add a good amount of utility, because then you can basically have some different marketplaces and stuff. But it'll take a lot of UI work to work around some of the kinks. I think it'd be really nice to basically have a ton of different backends that we're working on different places, but just one unified front end where to the end user they're just taking out a loan and it doesn't matter how they're getting their Dai.
Right.
But the back end is optimizing the best possible loan that they can get for a fixed rate. And basically the lenders would just have to have one extra piece where they were saying what backend they were comfortable lending through, and that would adjust their fixed rate. So I think that's probably the first thing, and then we definitely could use a better UI, but none of us are UI developers as well. So we have a nice, easy React front end. But yeah, that, and then we also, there's like still some strange kinks with like our sorting and stuff that could definitely be more gas efficient. But that's kind of our like small next steps.
Mhm.
I haven't
Cool.
really talked to any of my teammates very much since ETHBerlin, so we've been recovering. But yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
Right on, right on. Well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate you coming on the call and demoing RateLock/RateSwap for us. If anybody has questions, where can they reach you at? I'm gonna put the dev post in the chat in case anybody wants to check that out.
Yeah, otherwise, here, hold on. I will, like, probably the easiest way, honestly, is to just DM me or tweet at me on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter too often.
Andy8052.
Yeah, that's my name for everything. So that's also my GitHub, and if you were really interested in my Instagram and every other social media I have, basically.
Right on. All right, well, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
So for the next guest, I'm going to be introducing Yana and Ilgiz. I hope I pronounced your name right, Ilgiz. So you guys can come on. They had a project called Unisaur, and I'll let them explain.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you all. So if you wondered why Unisaur, it's unified dinosaur, as you can tell from the picture. So basically, we thought about two things. The one thing is all the crypto haters that are around us everywhere on Twitter and stuff like this. For example, Trump, Lee, Buffett, etc., etc. We thought about all the memes that came out from this, and as ETHBerlin was fun, we decided to go full meme. And they always say that cryptocurrency is a scam, that it's a giant Ponzi scheme. But basically, there's no bad publicity, and they actually bring more people to the crypto space. And on the other hand, when people as Trump tweet about American economy, all all indexes dump. When there is a trial for Zuckerberg about Facebook privacy issues, Facebook shares plummet. When Rubini tells that Bitcoin is a scam and yet again it's Ponzi scheme, we have another uptrend and stuff like this.
Right.
And again, it's a good sentiment for crypto people, basically, but if we are talking about traditional economy, such as American indexes, US 2, US 10, US 20, 30, whatever, if we are talking about Facebook shares, not everyone has an access to this investment instrument. They don't have access to NASDAQ or NISE or whatever traditional exchange because of like tons of reasons. I don't know, either they're not resident investors or they, I don't know, whatever, like really whatever.
So Unisaur creates a facility.
Unisaur, yes, Unisaur is a DEX that helps you to trade with indexes, set of indexes. You basically can put Facebook share on blockchain and bet against it.
So
you can sell it. How we did it, it's a better question for Ingis because he's the product owner and he will tell what they use for building.
Yeah, and actually I'm who helped to build this app. So I think I need to share screen.
Go for it.
Yeah, and actually while building our solution, we designed it very similar to CDP and Dai. So we use Ether as a collateral. So we have one smart contract where you can put your Ether, lock it some coins, for example, Facebook shares, price of which is pegged to real Facebook shares. And we have designed a liquidation mechanism when, for example, Ether price fall down and became less than 150%, then similar to Dai, we can sell our Ether on the DEX for the Facebook shares so that system can be stable. When designing our solution, we use several existing applications. One of them is Chainlink. We use them as a Oracle provider. So Chainlink provides our smart contracts with data of price feeds of Facebook from NASDAQ and Ether price from CoinMarketCap. So on money markets contract, we can know how our locked Ether is it over collateralized or under collateralized comparison with issued Facebook shares. Besides that, we use 0x Relayer for making our own relayer as a DEX where you can send Facebook shares. Sorry.
All good.
Yeah, I think screen is shared.
Yes, I can
Sorry.
see it.
Yeah. So as I said, we use Chainlink as an Oracle provider for our money market contract. Besides that, we have 0x layer where you can trade with Facebook shares against Ether. And also we integrate free box as a chat room where traders can chat with each other and discuss latest news, what's the price, is it fall down or increase, and so on. And besides that, we integrate Kyber. So, for example, you need to put additional Ether to your contract as a collateral. You can use Kyber to swap your different tokens that you have for Ether, and after that, after solding these tokens, you can put your Ether on money market contract. So here is our application, how it looks. There is an interface where you can deposit your Ether on smart contract and lock it. After that, you can generate Facebook tokens. You can generate only that amount of Facebook tokens that is less than 150% of Facebook of locked Ether. Yeah. After that, you can go to our layer, which is actually based on 0x launch kit, and put some tokens, sell them or buy another tokens. And for example, if you believe that Ether price is beat Facebook shares price, you can issue Facebook tokens and sell them on this exchange. And after some time, when Ether price is much higher, for example, you can then buy back your Facebook tokens and go to the balance, pay back Facebook tokens, and unlock your Ether and withdraw it from smart contract.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
actually, that's what is built, and here is our chat room where you can discuss something like,
see wrecked.
Here it is. Yeah. Last news and so on. And it's 100% decentralized because it uses free box, and we integrated there.
So I remember at last year's DevCon in Prague, Rune and I think Nick from our team were talking about something similar, almost exactly like this, of creating synthetic assets using something like a CDP, and having all this. So it looks like that's exactly what you built. That's awesome. How long did it take you guys to build this thing?
Actually, we end our work until 20 minutes of the end of hackathon.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's very, very busy days. We didn't slept over tonight building with. So it's very, very difficult to do it, but it's very cool thing because we can create some framework where anyone can issue any tokens from real world, which we need, for example. And if you talk about our main product, what we are building at Acropolis, we can create, for example, some DAO mechanism where community can decide that they want to buy some tokens, some shares company, but for example, Synthetics or any other company didn't issue it. They can take a decision that they want to launch this ticker, and using our issue tokens, launch their own 0x layer and give access for everyone for any tokens.
So
I think it's very.
I have a design.
Very good.
design decision question. So right now, the current mechanism uses Ether as collateral. Have you considered doing the same or similar mechanism with Dai as collateral? Because that would essentially, kill the volatility risk on the other side, right?
Yeah, actually, we just follow our storyline. It's like Trump against crypto people. But I think you're right. If you build some real application, we use more stable assets, and Dai is very good for that. Because if you want to invest in Facebook shares, we can pay its price actually not with Ether but with Dai, with the USD. So that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, right on. So it sounds like the biggest things to actually bootstrap something like this is to find the markets, which is why you were talking about having basically the community come and like vote on this first synthetic asset that people would actually interact with. Because if one person creates some Facebook shares and sells them, and, the market is super illiquid. Yeah, that's not a user-friendly market for synthetic assets. There needs to be liquidity for synthetic assets.
Yes.
That's probably like the biggest challenge I see with bootstrapping synthetic assets generally, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
On.
So actually, that makes sense. And you need some community around these synthetic assets, like a lot of people who want to buy Facebook shares on chain, and a lot of people who want to sell it, so on. And after that, you can launch this market. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the plan for this project moving forward?
Actually, as I said earlier, we are working at Acropolis, and we making some framework for DAOs with integrations to DeFi Stack. And we want to provide people from developing countries some modern instruments from financial markets. And I think if everything is going well, we can integrate it to our main product and trying to bootstrap this market things on the DAO basis, and so.
Yeah, right. I'm a big fan of Acropolis. The CDP interface is so pretty. The video you guys did was so clean. It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody in the call has any questions for Yana or Igiz, feel free. By the way, is that how you say your name?
Igiz.
Oh, Igiz. Okay, cool. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. And if not, how can one reach you? What's the best way to reach you? Reach any of you guys?
I'll send it to the chat. Basically, I guess it would be through me because I'm community lead. So
nice.
1 second.
Do you use Telegram primarily, or are you also on Twitter?
I'm everywhere. So
everywhere.
Yep, I will all the links.
So am I. Yeah.
Okay, I found your Twitter handle. Here. All right, so I posted Yana's Twitter handle in the chat. Feel free to reach out to them if you guys are interested in anything regarding this project. Also, I put up the dev post in the chat as well. So feel free to reach out to them. Thank you guys for coming on and showing us. This is really cool stuff. I didn't realize.
Thank you for inviting.
Didn't realize it could be built so quickly in just a couple of evenings at a hackathon.
We also didn't realize it was possible, but we made it.
Yeah, great
somehow.
work. Cool. So for the other half of the call, we're going to go over pretty much what's been going on in the rest of the MakerDAO universe. Posting the agenda to the agenda to the call there. So if you guys are interested in anything I mentioned, everything is linked out to. So yeah. I guess the first thing I'm going to cover is what's going on in governance at MakerDAO. So today actually is super important day in the land of governance because we are voting on 3 different things for the governance polls. And if you don't know about how governance at Maker works, we actually have 2 different types of voting. There's governance polls and executive votes. Governance polls are just meant to establish basically soft consensus in the community around various things, and also to ratify kind of ideological and like, not ideological, maybe that's the wrong word, but like processes and how to frame certain things within our governance system. So today, for example, we're voting on the 2 mandates that have been out, that have been put out to our community for discussion around 2 weeks ago. The first one is for the risk teams. So this is basically just outlining what risk teams in MakerDAO will be, how they will work, just kind of generally. There's a lot of room there that, you know, a lot of space was left intentionally vague, because as, you know, we iterate on the governance process, things might change, and we're not gonna ratify something set in stone, kind of that might change. So generally speaking, yeah, there's a mandate for risk teams out that governance is voting on right now, and there's also a mandate for the interim governance facilitator role. So, and the idea behind this role is that, you know, in decentralized governance, it's really hard if you don't have like a project manager or a point person to at least, you know, surface conversations that are not getting enough attention, helps put together proposals, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's pretty much what Rich Brown has been doing in our community for like the last year. And obviously the goal is for MakerDAO governance to exist without the foundation. And so it's important for us to kind of detail out what this role entails and make it available for the community to vote in and vote out people from this role. So if those 2 mandates are up for a vote, I think the duration of the vote is 7 days, if I'm not mistaken. And so if you are an MKR token holder, go out and voice your opinion for or against these mandates. And then the 3rd governance poll that's running is a recurring one. It's a stability fee adjustment poll, and it's going to conclude right before 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. It's a 3-day poll, and it's basically getting the appetite for MKR token holders on what they want the next executive vote to be. And so, yeah. And then just a brief recap on what happened, but this week, Maker holders enacted an executive vote basically to lower the stability fee by 2%. So nowadays, the stability fee is 16.5%. And I think that the current stability fee adjustment poll is winning for another 2% decrease to 14.5%. So I think that's pretty much it for all the voting stuff. We do have a call, a governance and risk call that we do every Thursday. It's the same time as this call, where a ton of people from our community come and we cover a bunch of things ranging from governance process to, you know, Vishesh does his state of the peg. He does a weekly analysis, goes through all a ton of different graphs and metrics, and kind of tries to explain from a from an economics perspective what's going on with Dai, and it's super educational and it's extremely interesting, especially if you're an MKR token holder who is trying to make a decision. So definitely join us for that. I'm gonna go through some of the partnerships, integrations, grants. And by the way, feel free to stop me at any point and ask clarifying questions, because I'm just kind of run through this agenda. So yeah, feel free to stop me. So for partnerships, integrations, and grants this week, we saw a bunch of stuff. EtherScan added a loan tracker feature. They're a bit late, but nevertheless, it's really cool to see EtherScan do it because they are so kind of official in our ecosystem. So it's a good feature. Next, we have a new product called Irinito. They are a Korean blockchain reward wallet, and they're trying to do what many wallets are trying. They're aggregating all of these kind of DeFi lending protocols, and they're making it available for their customers. And I think that I'm not 100% certain on whether they're non-custodial, decentralized, or like they have some aspect of centralization and custody. I didn't have too much time to read deeply into them, but nevertheless, check them out. They're pretty big in Korea, and so yeah. Next, we have DeFi Saver, which is actually they were one of our grantees. It used to be called CDP Saver, and they have since pivoted and pivoted again, but their front end is now introducing this thing called Smart Savings, and they're just integrating Compound, DYDX, Fulcrum, all into a single dashboard, and they're making it available for users to basically get the best rate at any given time. It like automatically rebalances in the back end, and it's a pretty cool tool. The only downside to it, I did try it. The only downside to it is that you have to use their proxy contract, which is not fun if you like to watch your wallet and look at all the numbers. I don't like proxy contracts. I like being plugged directly to the platforms. But nevertheless, really cool that they're iterating and they're continuing to grow. A few different audit companies and are beginning to accept Dai. So actually, sorry, before the audit company, there is another bounty platform that is accepting Dai besides bounties.network, which already allows you to make offers in Dai and accept bounties in Dai. But Bounty OX, which is used for freelance stuff, marketing, pretty much anything. It's kind of an agnostic bounty platform, but now it allows people to pay and host bounties in Dai. So that's really exciting. And then next we have a Sydney-based audit company called SigP.io, and they provide audits for maker partners like ETHStatus, and they now accept Dai for audit services. So if you are writing smart contracts and you want to pay for their audits in Dai, hit them up. And then lastly, also a company out of Korea called CryptoCard. They are now live. The card is accepted at over 70 different franchises in Korea, including Taco Bell and eMart24. So yeah, that's about it for this week's partnerships, integrations, grants. Next, there's one thing from the official Maker blog. We came out with our monthly Making Maker post. So if you want kind of a really macro overview of just what's been going on in the month at Maker, it's a really cool blog post. Check it out. Then actually right before this call, I put up a tweet storm, also monthly, covering more specifically the stuff that's come out of the community. And so you guys could go check out that thread. I'm not gonna cover it here, although maybe I could cover it later because I just want to get through this agenda. But nevertheless, every month I put out a tweet storm. It basically just covers all of the cool stuff that's come out of the community and gives kudos and recognition to all the people working on this this awesome decentralized economy that we're all building. Yes, so for developer creations this week, there was one really cool thing that I managed to see this morning called Pool Dai. And so I know some of you are familiar with Pool Together, which is a no-loss lottery that was launched on mainnet, and they're currently about to launch V2. They just put out their smart contracts to be audited by the community in a nice open source way. But Pool Dai iterates on this idea, and it actually allows anybody to create a pool. It allows anybody to specify the recipient, and it's no loss. You can withdraw out of the pool at any time, and the recipient is getting your interest no matter what. So anybody can go. It's like a totally open protocol. I saw somebody created a pool for Vitalik's gym membership, though I don't think money is the reason he doesn't go to the gym. But nevertheless, there are some funny pools and some serious pools in there, but a really cool proof of concept, nevertheless. As for articles, there were a couple of really great ones. I know Primoz Cordes, he came out with an article called Measuring Dai Supply and Demand Price Effects, and it dives a bit into basically how Dai acts in the market and what are the variables affecting it. You know, it's not just the stability fee. ETH price action, has a huge part to play in Dai's day-to-day price action. But in general, check out the article. It's a very data-driven approach, and I definitely know a lot of people appreciate that. We saw also a really great article explaining what a blockchain oracle is that reviewed oracles from MakerDAO, from Augur, and from Chainlink. So check it out. If you're unfamiliar with oracles, they're a really, really big part of what makes blockchain work and what enables so many use cases, because you're basically the very explain it like I'm five explanation of what an oracle is it takes off-chain data and it makes it available on-chain. So you need the weather, on-chain, oracle. You need price of Facebook stock, oracle. Anything, and that is the power of oracles, and that's why they're so important for people to understand as a fundamental building block in our space. As for the threads this week, there were a couple of good ones. There was a thread calling for the stability fee to be even lower. And every once in a while we get threads like this, and they're great learning experiences because most of the time there's actually not a lot of disagreement from the original poster and like the people in the community. The person is arguing for structurally lower rates, and because MakerDAO exists in a way where the monetary policy is kind of intertwined with the risk premium of the asset, the rates right now are very high because people use it for leverage, and it's required. The rate is required to be at the level it's right now to maintain the peg. But as multi-collateral Dai comes out, as we are able to use the Dai savings rate as a monetary policy tool rather than individual stability fees, I believe that rates will structurally go down. They will decrease. But again, we will see. But nevertheless, it's a really interesting thread. A lot of good conversation in there. The second thread I highlighted was how does governance combat governance token borrowing? And so if you've been around in the community, you've seen that Compound is holding a vote right now for the next, I believe, 2 assets that they're going to make markets for. And Maker is in the lead right now, MKR, and this is sparking a ton of conversations around, governance attacks, people borrowing MKR in order to, basically vote something maliciously and then short MKR, and basically, yeah. This discussion is ongoing, and there's a ton of really great ideas about how to design against it, why it might not even be that big of a deal, why it might be a really big deal. And so if you're interested in this conversation, emerging conversation, check out that thread. And also I should have probably linked it in the agenda as well, but in our governance forum, forum.makerdao.com, there's actually also a parallel thread talking about vote delegation. Oh, actually it is linked here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in that, check it out here. But yeah, it's talking about how vote delegation might not be what we should be striving for, though I personally disagree. There is definitely conversation to be had and understanding to be attained around how governance works and how token governance might be vulnerable or how it might be resilient. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for all of like the community highlights, governance highlights. I'm gonna go over really briefly some of the real life events that are going on this week and some of the bigger events that are coming up. Cough, DevCon. But yeah, so what's today, the 3rd? Okay, so for today, we have a few different events. We have one in Frankfurt called Money on the Blockchain, the Euro Libra Custody. And we have Gustav, who is our business development lead in Europe. And he's accompanied by Bartek, who is on the Oasis team as one of the main engineers there. And they are going to be representing there. Also today in Seoul in South Korea, we have Du, who is also on our business development team. He's going to be participating in a Origin Protocol times X crypto sale meetup. And I love the guys down in Korea because they have been nonstop doing events, and we have just been seeing a total explosion of growth in Korea, which is really exciting. So that's on the 3rd, that's today. On the 5th, in Copenhagen, we have Gustav from BD participating in this thing called Tech Festival. Link is there if you want to check it out. In Sale as well on the 5th, we're actually going to be participating in 2 separate events. One is called Digital Asset Technology Trend and New Business Event, where we have Nathan, our community manager in Korea there. And then the 2019 Future Blockchain Crypto Assets Forum. And Du will be representing us over there. And then also on the 5th in Philadelphia, one of our legal counsel, Jacek, is going to be at an event called Wharton Reg, I assume it's short for regulation, at Tech, the Evolution of Digital Assets. And then finally, or no, it's not finally, almost finally, on the 6th in Seoul in South Korea, we have Nathan participating in this thing called the Nervos Seoul Meetup, which is another crypto meetup. On the 10th in London, a lot of stuff going on this week, damn. On the 10th in London, we're going to be participating in the DeFi Summit in London. I believe somebody from our team is going to be speaking there, but Gustav, Bartek, and Jacek are going to be there. And then for the bigger picture, bigger event, we're all super excited, but in about a month, we're going to be in Osaka for DEF CON 5. And so we're really excited to be there. Oh, dang, and I missed one more. On the 6th, ETH Boston is happening, and our very own Charles St. Louis is going to be over there representing. So yeah, that's it for real life events. That's pretty much it for the entire agenda, and we have 5 minutes to spare. So feel free to ask questions, ask for clarity. I'm happy to have some conversation, but if not, thank you guys for joining the call. All right, right on. So I'm gonna kill the recording.